The four bodyguards formed a wall of muscle and expensive suits as they entered Jack Miller's tiny coffee shop. Behind them walked a woman in a tailored business outfit, the same woman who, just yesterday, had gratefully accepted a free breakfast and coffee from Jack's weathered hands. The same woman whose 7-year-old daughter had colored pictures for his refrigerator. The lawyers flanking her carried leather briefcases that probably cost more than Jack's monthly rent. His heart plummeted as he wiped his flour-covered hands on his apron. Whatever was happening, it couldn't be good for a struggling single father just trying to make it through another day. If you're enjoying this story so far, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more heartwarming stories that remind us of the unexpected ways our lives can change in an instant. Your support helps us bring more content like this to viewers everywhere. Jack had never imagined his simple act of kindness would lead to this moment, a moment that would forever change not just his life, but the lives of his 10-year-old son, Tyler, and the mysterious woman who had appeared outside his shop 3 months ago. The first time Jack noticed her was on a bitter January morning. The pre-dawn air bit through his jacket as he unlocked the front door of Daily Grind, the small coffee shop he'd poured his heart and savings into after Sarah's death. 3 years a widower, Jack had learned to function on autopilot: wake at 4 a.m., prepare the day's pastries, get Tyler ready for school, open the shop, work until closing, help with homework, repeat. The routine kept him from drowning in grief. That morning, he spotted her huddled in the alleyway beside his shop, a thin blanket wrapped around her shoulders. She wasn't dressed like the usual homeless people in the neighborhood. Her clothes, though wrinkled, were business casual, as if she'd fallen on hard times recently and suddenly. "Hey," Jack called out, his breath visible in the cold. "You okay?" The woman startled, clutching her blanket tighter. "I'm fine," she said, though her shivering betrayed her words. "Just resting." Jack hesitated. Tyler's therapist had warned him about his tendency to try to fix everyone after failing to save Sarah from cancer. But he couldn't just leave someone freezing in an alley. "I'm about to make some fresh coffee. Would you like to come in and warm up?" Her hesitation was palpable, pride warring with necessity. Finally, she nodded and followed him inside. "I'm Jack," he said, flipping on the lights and heading straight for the coffee machine. "Elena," she replied, her voice soft but educated. She perched awkwardly on a stool at the counter, as if ready to flee at any moment. Jack placed a steaming mug before her. "Cream? Sugar? Black is fine, thank you." Her hands trembled slightly as she wrapped them around the mug. As Jack began preparing the day's first batch of muffins, he noticed Elena watching with interest. "You a baker?" he asked. A ghost of a smile crossed her face. "In another life. I used to run a catering business." Jack raised an eyebrow. "No kidding? What happened?" The smile vanished. "Life happened." Jack recognized the wall going up. He'd built plenty of his own after Sarah died. He nodded and changed the subject. "Well, these blueberry muffins are my son's favorite, but I can never get them quite right. Too dense." Elena sipped her coffee, studying him. After a moment, she said, "You're probably over-mixing the batter. It develops the gluten too much." Jack slid the bowl toward her. "Show me." For the first time, Elena's face lit up with something like purpose. She washed her hands at the sink and took over, her movements confident and practiced. Jack watched, memorizing her technique. When Tyler came downstairs, rubbing sleep from his eyes, he found his dad and a stranger laughing over a tray of perfect muffins. "Who are you?" Tyler asked bluntly, with the directness only a 10-year-old could manage. "This is Elena," Jack said. "She's giving me some baking tips." Elena smiled nervously at the boy. "Your dad says these are your favorite." Tyler approached cautiously, taking the offered muffin. His eyes widened at the first bite. "Dad, these are way better than yours." Jack laughed. "Thanks for the vote of confidence, buddy." As they ate breakfast together, Jack learned that Elena had a daughter named Lily, who was staying with a friend while Elena figured things out. The more they talked, the more Jack pieced together her situation: a messy divorce, a vindictive ex-husband with powerful connections who had somehow blacklisted her business, frozen her accounts, and left her virtually unemployable in their small city. When it was time for Tyler to leave for school, Jack made a decision. "Listen, I could use some help around here. Nothing fancy, just a few hours in the morning. In exchange, you get breakfast and lunch, plus whatever tips come in." Elena's eyes narrowed. "I don't need charity." "It's not charity if you're working," Jack countered. "And based on these muffins, you'd be doing me a favor. Plus, you could bring Lily. There's a small apartment upstairs where Tyler and I live. She could hang out there until school." Elena hesitated, pride battling desperation. "I'll think about it," she finally said. Jack nodded, writing his number on a napkin. "Doors open at 4 a.m. if you decide to come back." To Jack's surprise, Elena returned the next morning with a small, solemn-faced girl in tow. Lily was 7, with her mother's dark hair and serious eyes. She clutched a worn backpack and regarded Jack with suspicion. "I can work until 2, Elena said, as if daring Jack to rescind his offer. "Perfect," Jack replied, pretending not to notice her relief. "Tyler's still asleep upstairs. Lily can watch TV in the living room if she wants." Over the next few weeks, a routine developed. Elena arrived each morning, often having spent the night in a shelter or, on bad nights, in her old car. She and Jack would prepare the day's baked goods, her expertise transforming his modest offerings into something special. Customers began to notice, commenting on the improved quality. Business picked up. Lily and Tyler, initially wary of each other, gradually formed a friendship built on shared experiences. Both had lost something fundamental: Tyler his mother, Lily her sense of security. They bonded over video games and homework, creating their own little world upstairs while the adults worked below. Jack learned more about Elena's situation in bits and pieces. Her ex-husband, Richard Harrington, was a real estate developer with significant influence in the city. Their divorce had turned ugly when Elena discovered financial improprieties in his business dealings. When she threatened to go public, Richard had used his connections to destroy her reputation and livelihood. "Why don't you leave town?" Jack asked one quiet afternoon as they cleaned up after the lunch rush. Elena's hand stilled on the counter she was wiping. "Custody agreement. If I take Lily out of the state without permission, I could lose her entirely. Richard doesn't even want her, he just knows keeping her here hurts me." Jack understood the impossible situation. He'd considered moving after Sarah died, starting fresh somewhere without memories on every corner. But Tyler needed stability, not more upheaval. As February turned to March, Jack noticed Elena looking increasingly exhausted. One morning, after Tyler and Lily had left for school, he confronted her. "Where did you sleep last night?" Elena avoided his eyes. "The car. The shelter was full." Jack ran a hand through his hair. "This is ridiculous. I have a pull-out couch upstairs. You and Lily should stay with us." Elena's head snapped up. "Absolutely not." "Why not?" "It makes sense. You're here all day anyway." "Because I won't be indebted to anyone, especially not a man," Elena said firmly. "I've been down that road." Jack felt a flash of hurt, which he quickly suppressed. "It's not like that. I'm just trying to help." "That's what Richard said when we first met," Elena replied quietly. "He was just trying to help the struggling catering business owner. Before I knew it, I'd signed over everything to joint accounts he controlled." Jack stepped back, giving her space. "I get it. But the offer stands, no strings attached. Think about Lily." That evening, when Jack returned from picking Tyler up from basketball practice, he found Elena and Lily waiting outside the shop, a small suitcase between them. "1 week," Elena said firmly. "Just until I find something else." 1 week turned into 2, then a month. They fell into a new routine, Elena and Jack running the coffee shop, the children forming a sibling-like bond. In the evenings, the four of them would eat dinner together, play board games, or watch movies. For Jack, who had been merely surviving since Sarah's death, it felt like living again. Tyler noticed the change in his father. "You laugh more now," he observed one night as Jack tucked him in. Jack paused. "Do I?" Tyler nodded. "Mom would like Elena. She makes good food like Mom did." Jack's throat tightened. "Your mom would like that. You're happy. Are Elena and Lily going to stay forever?" Tyler asked sleepily. Jack smoothed his son's hair. "I don't know, buddy. It's complicated." Complicated indeed. Jack found himself looking forward to the quiet moments after the children were asleep, when he and Elena would talk over cups of tea. She was brilliant, funny, and resilient in ways that awed him. He recognized the dangerous territory his heart was entering, but seemed powerless to stop it. Elena, too, was changing. The perpetual worry lines on her forehead softened. She began to contribute to the household expenses, insisting on paying what she called fair rent from her tips. She started experimenting with new recipes for the shop, creating seasonal specialties that customers lined up for. One evening in early April, as they sat on the small balcony outside the apartment watching the sunset, Elena turned to Jack. "I need to tell you something," she said, her voice serious. "I've been meeting with a lawyer." Jack's heart sank. Was she planning to leave? "I found evidence," she continued, "of what Richard's been doing. Not just to me, but fraud, tax evasion, bribing city officials. My lawyer thinks we have enough to not only clear my name but possibly see him prosecuted." "That's good, right?" Jack asked cautiously. Elena's hands twisted in her lap. "It's dangerous. Richard won't go down without a fight. And when he realizes what I'm doing." She looked at Jack, real fear in her eyes. "I should leave. I'm putting you and Tyler at risk just by being here." Jack reached out, covering her restless hands with his. "We're stronger together than apart. Whatever comes, we'll face it as a family." The word hung between them, family. Something neither had expected to find again. Elena's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "You don't know what he's capable of." "Maybe not," Jack admitted. "But I know what we're capable of." That night, for the first time, Elena didn't sleep on the pull-out couch. Instead, she and Jack stayed up until dawn, talking, planning, and finally acknowledging the feelings that had been growing between them. The next few weeks were tense. Elena's lawyer, a determined woman named Meredith Santos, worked tirelessly to build their case. Jack installed new security cameras at the shop and apartment. They established safety protocols for the children, who sensed the adults' anxiety despite efforts to shield them. Then came the threats, subtle at first. A health inspector suddenly appeared, citing violations that had never been issues before. The bank called about irregularities with Jack's business loan. A customer claimed to have found glass in their pastry, though the claim was quickly disproven. "He knows," Elena said one night, pacing the apartment. "Somehow, he knows what we're doing." Jack pulled her into his arms. "Let him come. We're not backing down." The final straw came when Tyler and Lily were followed home from school by a black SUV with tinted windows. Though the driver never approached them, the message was clear. Elena was frantic. "I'm going to drop the case. It's not worth this." "No," Jack said firmly. "That's what he wants. If you back down now, he'll never stop. We need to end this." Meredith agreed. "We're ready to file. Once the documents are public, he loses his leverage." But the next 48 hours are critical. They decided that Elena and the children would stay with Meredith, whose home had a security system and was unknown to Richard. Jack would maintain normal operations at the coffee shop to avoid arousing suspicion. The morning they were set to file the case, Jack opened the shop as usual, his nerves on edge. The bell above the door jingled at precisely 7:30 a.m., the time Richard Harrington himself always arrived for his morning coffee when he was in town. Jack looked up, expecting to see Elena's ex-husband. Instead, he found himself facing four large men in suits, flanking a woman he recognized as Richard's personal attorney. "Mr. Miller," the attorney said smoothly. "We need to speak with Elena Harrington. We know she's here." Jack wiped his hands on his apron, buying time to steady his voice. "She doesn't work Thursdays. And her name is Elena Reyes, not Harrington." The attorney's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Mr. Harrington is prepared to be generous, despite her indiscretions. If she drops this ridiculous case and returns what belongs to him, he's willing to forget this unfortunate episode." Jack's anger flared. "Nothing belongs to him. And there's nothing to drop. Now, unless you're ordering coffee, I'll have to ask you to leave." One of the bodyguards stepped forward menacingly. "You don't want to make this difficult, buddy." The bell jingled again. Jack's heart stopped as Elena walked in, followed by Meredith and two police officers. Behind them came a man in an FBI windbreaker. "Actually," Elena said, her voice stronger than Jack had ever heard it, "I think you're the ones in a difficult position." The FBI agent stepped forward. "I'm Special Agent Dawson. We have a warrant for Richard Harrington's arrest on multiple charges of fraud, tax evasion, and witness intimidation." "Are you representing Mr. Harrington?" he asked the attorney. The woman's composure cracked. "My client isn't here." "Then perhaps you'd like to explain why you're attempting to intimidate witnesses in a federal investigation?" Meredith interjected. "Because that's a separate charge we'd be happy to add." The bodyguards looked uncertainly at the attorney, who had gone pale. "We were just delivering a message," she stammered. "Message delivered," Elena said coldly. "And here's mine, it's over. The evidence has been filed. The accounts Richard hid in the Caymans have been frozen. And the Real Estate Commission is reviewing every deal he's made in the last decade." As the police escorted the stunned group out, Jack moved to Elena's side. "You were supposed to be at Meredith's. It wasn't safe." Elena smiled, taking his hand. "I couldn't let you face them alone. We're stronger together, remember?" Agent Dawson approached them. "Ms. Reyes, we'll need you to come in for a formal statement. Mr. Harrington was arrested at his office 20 minutes ago." As the reality sank in that it was truly over, Jack pulled Elena into his arms. "You did it." "We did it," she corrected, leaning into his embrace. 6 months later, the bell above the door of Daily Grind jingled merrily as customers streamed in. The shop had been expanded into the vacant space next door, with a new sign reading Daily Grind and Elena's Bakery. The display cases were filled with Elena's creations, which had developed something of a cult following in the city. Richard Harrington had accepted a plea deal, avoiding a public trial but facing significant prison time and financial penalties. Elena had received a substantial settlement, including the restoration of her business assets and reputation. Jack watched from behind the counter as Elena charmed the customers, her confidence fully restored. Tyler and Lily sat at their usual table by the window, homework spread out between them, occasionally bickering like the siblings they had essentially become. When the last customer had been served, Jack flipped the sign to "closed" and locked the door. Elena came up behind him, wrapping her arms around his waist. "Penny for your thoughts," she murmured. Jack turned in her embrace. "I was just thinking about that morning when you walked in with Meredith and the FBI. I've never been so terrified and proud at the same time." Elena smiled.